Yes, both the 2007 New York Giants and 2020 Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. And yes, they both did it as wildcard teams, but they aren't alone in that. They're among 7 wildcard teams that went on to win the big game. So what else do they, and only they, have in common? For that, we need to dig a little deeper. What they have in common is the 2007 Giants dropped the season opener at Dallas 45-35. The offense was clicking as Eli Manning threw for 312 yards and 4 touchdowns. Derek Ward added 89 yards on the ground. The defense just had no answer for the Cowboys. Tony Romo connected for 345 yards and matched Manning's 4 touchdown passes. He rushed for another. Julius Jones and Marion Barber combined for 131 rushing yards. The Giants lost the next game to Green Bay, and at 0-2, the last thing they looked like was a playoff team. Rattling off 6 straight wins got them back on track, but that streak would end as they hooked up with the Cowboys again, this time in New York. They lost again, this time 31-20. Romo torched the Giants again for 4 touchdown passes. It was on a more modest 247 yards, and the Jones-Barber duo was slowed to 82 combined yards, but the Giants couldn't repeat their offensive output from the first game. Manning was picked off twice and sacked 5 times. The Giants limped off the field as a battered 6-3 team. The Cowboys at 8-1 were cruising. The Giants played the last 7 games at a 4-3 clip, losing the finale to the New England Patriots. They backed into the playoffs at 10-6, well adrift of the 13-3 Cowboys in the NFC East. The 2020 Buccaneers finished the season at 11-5, 1 game back of the New Orleans Saints in the NFC South Division. In their head-to-head matchups, it was all Saints. The Saints hosted and won the season opener 34-23. It was, by the way, the first ever NFL game to feature starting quarterbacks over the age of 40. Tom Brady and Drew Brees, of course. In a frustrating day for the Bucs, they put up superior numbers in passing and rushing yards, but did themselves in with 3 turnovers, including a Tom Brady pass that went the other way for a pick-6 for the Saints. The Bucs allowed 3 sacks and committed 9 penalties, marching themselves backward for 103 yards. In Brady's debut for Tampa Bay, they were not ready for prime time, and it showed. The Saints traveled to Tampa Bay in Week 9. It promised to be a closer affair. The Bucs had found their stride and stood at 6-2. The visiting Saints had lost twice and won 2 games in overtime. While Brees threw 4 touchdown passes, Brady was picked off 3 times. He would finish with a passer rating of 40.4. The Saints' rushing attack combined for 138 yards and a touchdown. The Bucs were held to 8 yards. Yes, that's 8 on 5 carries. The Buccaneers couldn't move the ball, only converting on 1 of 9 third downs. The Saints more than doubled the Bucs in yards gained, 420 to 194. The Saints led 31-0 by halftime. They added a late, meaningless score. The Bucs kicked a 48-yard field goal to avoid being shut out. The Buccaneers lost 2 of their next 3 to drop to 7-5. They righted the pirate ship and won their final 4 games of the season to secure a wild card spot with momentum on their side. It's in the NFL playoffs that things got interesting, and the strange parallel is drawn between these 2 teams. Each faced a long and winding road to the Super Bowl, needing to win 3 straight road games. The 2007 Giants won the wildcard game in Tampa Bay 24-14. Eli Manning threw for 2 touchdowns, Corey Webster recovered a fumble, and intercepted a Jeff Garcia pass. That set up the rematch with the Cowboys. The Giants, a huge underdog playing in a hostile environment, received the opening kick and marched down the field. Just 2:58 into the game, they led 7-0 on a 52-yard strike from Manning to Amani Toomer. It would be all they would produce offensively until just before halftime. The Cowboys responded with clock-chewing drives. They tied the game on a 10-play drive that covered 96 yards. Marion Barber accounted for 72 of the yards on the ground, gashing the Giants' defense. Terrell Owens, back from an injury, pulled in the touchdown pass to complete the drive. The Cowboys put together a 20-play drive covering 90 yards to extend the lead to 14-7 with 1:01 left before the break. Barber got across the line from 1 yard out for the score. The game looked like it would go the same way as the first two meetings at that point. The Giants were desperate for a spark. Airing it out, Manning made the most of the last chance in the half, connecting with Steve Smith twice, Kevin Boss, and Toomer to tie the game. The second half was a defensive struggle with only 10 points scored total. The Giants showed signs of life, stopping another long Cowboys drive and forcing a field goal. Those would be the last points for the home team, as the league-leading Giants pass defense showed up, rattling Tony Romo the rest of the way. After exchanging punts, the Giants put together a drive that culminated in a Brandon Jacobs touchdown run. They led 21-17. With over 13 minutes on the clock, it didn't seem like a game-winning score. A defensive battle raged in the closing quarter. Finally, a Tony Romo pass was intercepted by R.W. McQuarters with 9 seconds left, and the Giants had their revenge. They had been beaten in every statistical category. They were outpassed, outrushed, had fewer first downs, and third down conversions. They lagged in time of possession by 13 minutes, but they won the game against all odds. The Giants went on to win the NFC Championship at Lambeau, topping Green Bay 23-20 in overtime. It was recorded as the third coldest game in league history. In one of the wildest finishes in Super Bowl history, they snatched a victory away from the New England Patriots, 17-14. The 2020 Buccaneers beat the Washington football team in the wild card game 32-23. Tom Brady threw for 381 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Bucs defense hauled in 2 interceptions. That set up their rematch with the Saints in New Orleans. If there was anything working in the favor of the Buccaneers, it would have been that the Superdome was nearly empty. Due to the pandemic, the attendance was listed at 3,750 people. Still, the Saints looked to be picking up where they left off, driving for 2 first-quarter field goals to lead 6-0. The Bucs showed signs of life in the second quarter, responding with a field goal at the end of a 65-yard, 15-play drive. On the Saints' next drive, Breeze was picked off by Sean Murphy-Bunting. He returned it to the 3-yard line, setting up a Brady to Mike Evans touchdown. Undaunted, the Saints pulled off a crazy trick play that ended in a 56-yard strike to regain the lead, 13-10. The Bucs tacked on a field goal to go to the break tied. The Saints opened the third quarter with a long drive covering 75 yards in 10 plays. They extended their lead to 20-13. Brady and company battled back. A completion to Leonard Fournette knotted the score at 20-20. A Bucs field goal gave them the lead 23-20. Devin White picked off Breeze and set up another Bucs score. Brady got in from 1 yard out, extending the lead to 30-20. When Breeze was picked off for a third time, it was effectively over. Tom Brady had led the way, as is his habit, with 199 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, along with his rushing score. But the story should reflect that the Bucs defense, torched by the Saints in Week 9, held Breeze to 134 yards and picked him off 3 times for a passer rating of 38.1. Bucs linebacker Devin White had a career game with 10 tackles, a fumble recovery, and an interception. Mike Edwards accounted for the other 2 picks. It was a shocking outcome given the 2 earlier meetings. The Bucs then traveled to Green Bay and won the NFC Championship 31-26. They capped the season in style, winning the franchise's second Super Bowl as they thrashed the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9. It was the first time in league history that a team won the title as the host city. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl and proved that he didn't need Bill Belichick as a coach to do it. As we enjoy their Super Bowl highlights, let's underscore the strange similarity between these 2 teams. Since the merger in 1970, precisely 2 teams have done the following: made the playoffs as a wild card team, won 3 road games that included getting revenge against a team that had beaten them twice that year, and then went on to win the Super Bowl. If you have a favorite strange story like this one, drop a note in the comments. We'll consider it for a future video. If you enjoyed the video and perhaps learned something new, hit subscribe. Join the Sports Fan Sports family.